one of them suddenly aimed their gun towards me because I was standing right in front from a distance and shot me on the face. The first bullet I received on the face, I still remember that I screamed. I screamed really loudly because that was probably one of the first bullets that broke my teeth and my maxilla and that pierced through my face. So I was born in the northwestern sides of Pakistan in a city called Peshawar. I think since my childhood, my parents wanted me and my siblings to get quality education. So my school life was my whole life probably. Like it was the only place where I would go. It was probably one of the best schools in the city, and I had friends there, my best friends, which were kind of like my second family because, you know, you have breakfast with them in the morning because we would go so early. It was a military school, so it would start really early, and we had to like wake up at 5 in the morning and then go there and you have lunch with them. So it was kind of like a second family to me.
Are you able to just kind of touch on the political situation in Pakistan at this time?
So I think around 2007, I would say, things started going wrong in there, especially in Peshawar. That was the city most affected by terrorism. And before that, the Taliban, or the terrorist group, when they came to the cities like Peshawar, and there was probably bomb blast and suicide bomb attacks on daily basis, and my family, my parents, my mom and my dad, they would be worried all the time. They would be watching news all the time, and the day I realized that something was going wrong in our city was when I think there was a few people in our neighborhood and that died in a bomb blast, in a suicide bomb attack. And when I saw their family and their family members and friends crying and shouting, and that's when I realized that things are not going really well as I thought around me.
And how old were you at that point?
I was around probably around 10, 8, 10, 9, something like that. It was the day of 16 December where it started as a normal day, and I went to school as per routine, sat with my friends. We had our breakfast, we were chatting about our normal stuff, cricket, politics, WWE, everything. So we were discussing these things, and then I was the head boy at school at that time. So one of my teachers came up and they told me that we are having a first aid lecture in the auditorium. So I should tell all the students in year 8 and year 9 that they should be heading towards auditorium. And I think most of the students I saw, they all were celebrating and were kind of happy that they're going to miss lessons today due to the first aid lecture. So we went to the auditorium, and I think everyone sat down and the first aid lecture started, and things were going normal at that time. I still remember my friends because I was the head boy, so I was kind of like on the stage, and my friends from the audience would make like these funny faces to make me laugh. And then all of a sudden we heard a noise. There was a noise. It was a loud noise, and I think some of the students just jumped, like they weren't expecting it, and the others started laughing at them that they got scared. And then we again continued, like no one really paid attention to that. And then we heard those noises again, and this time it was consistent, like those started getting louder and louder and getting more consistent. That's when everyone in the auditorium was silenced, and everyone was looking up to the teachers, that what is happening. And I think at that time I was assuming that it was a military drill, and so were most of the students. And but when those sounds started getting even more louder, that's when I had a bit of a doubt, and everyone was like a little scared as well, like what is happening. And I looked at one of my teachers there in the auditorium. I was like, what's happening? And they told me that, oh, don't worry, it's nothing, it's just going to be okay. And I was like, okay, but what is this? Like, we don't know. And then our teacher started locking all the doors in the auditorium. And that's when, like, most of the students in there started getting more scared now, and they started getting more anxious, like, why are the teachers locking the doors? And I saw a few people, like, with shadows standing outside, and when they realized that the door was locked, they started kicking it. They kicked it once, and when they kicked it the second time, the door broke, and they came in. Everyone started going under their chairs. I still remember I could see everyone because I was still on the stage, and I looked at my teacher, and I was a bit like scared, and I was like, what is happening? Like, just tell me, like, what's happening? Like, and then they started shooting. They started shooting all of a sudden. They started shooting people at the back, and I was in a shock. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was just standing still. I couldn't move. I didn't know what to do. I just went blank. One of them suddenly aimed their gun towards me because I was standing right in front from a distance, and shot me on the face. The first bullet I received on the face, I still remember that I screamed. I screamed really loudly because that was probably one of the first bullets that broke my teeth and my maxilla, and that pierced through my face. And I fell down on the floor, and I still couldn't believe it. Like, what was happening? I was still in a shock, and I was in pain. I was in shock, and I didn't know what was happening around me. And then I saw a few of my friends getting shot in their heads because as I was lying down, and my brain wasn't accepting this situation. I was like, this is not true. This is a dream. Like, this can't be true. Like, my friends just died in front of my eyes. Like, they were just talking to me like a minute ago, and they are no more with me, and here I am dying, like, about to die. As I was lying down there, I don't know what happened, but I just said to myself that, no, I'm just gonna try to survive. I'm gonna give it my best. Like, I'm still breathing. I was telling myself that this was, I was just putting my hand on my mouth, and the first time I tried to put my hand on my face, my hand went in because it was open. It had opened up. So when I just kept telling myself, because I had no one to console me, so I just kept consoling myself that I'm still breathing, I'm still breathing, and I was just breathing, and I was like, I just putting my hand on my mouth again and again. I'm like, I'm still breathing, I'm still breathing. I'm still alive. One of them saw me, like, that I was still moving and I was still doing movements, and they shot me again. They shot me again. They kicked me to see whether I was still alive. And they were checking every student in the auditorium. They were going around, and they were checking everyone, whether if anyone would move, they would start shooting at them again. My friend lying down there in front of me, like me lying down on the floor looking at them, and they were dead. They were no more, and I was just about to die. I still remember that after, like, a few minutes, like 5-10 minutes, they left the auditorium, and at that time I was lucky that my senses were still working. I could still see things a bit blurry, I could still hear things, I could still think. And I heard some people saying that they have left, some students saying in the auditorium, they were mumbling to each other like they have left. So I was trying to wave my hand, I was trying to, like, call, like, someone so that they can help me get up and move. But I think it was a chaotic situation, and it was a shock for everyone as well. They were kids themselves, so there was no one to help. They just started running outside, and at that time I didn't realize that I was shot on my leg and my arm as well, because the pain in my face was so much that I didn't pay any attention to my leg or my hand, like, and my wrist as well, because they kicked me. When the terrorists kicked me, my wrist cracked, my right wrist cracked. So I didn't pay attention to any of those injuries because I had no idea I had them. My whole focus was on my face, that because it was so painful. When there was no one to help me, I tried to drag myself. I tried to crawl. I tried to drag myself. I couldn't get up. I couldn't stand up. I tried to, but I couldn't. So I tried to drag myself and I tried to crawl, and somehow I managed to get out of the auditorium. There was no one to help me. There was a class about 6 to 8 meters away from me, and I was trying to get there because it was an Year 7 class, and I was trying to get there, but I had lost so much blood, and I had so many injuries that it was really hard for me to even like move 1 meter. And when I tried to do that, it took everything out of me. Those 6 to 8 meters took everything out of me, and I managed to reach that place. I managed to reach the door, and then my body had lost all its strength. I was just telling myself that I shouldn't just close my eyes, shouldn't let myself go to sleep. If someone is coming here to rescue me, or these people, they would think that I have died. So I have to stay awake to let them know that I'm still alive. And there was a tree, a big tree outside our school, and I was looking at that tree, and when the shooting was still going on, you could still hear the shooting, you could still hear the bomb blast, and the birds were flying from that tree. They were scattering. So I still remember I just said to myself that I wish I was one of these and I could fly away from here like them easily. After 10 minutes, there was a military person that came, and they picked me up from the door, and they saw me lying down in front of the door, and they picked me up and they put me in an ambulance. I had been shot with bullets on my face. It was multiple bullets on my face, and my hand, my arm, and my right knee was shot with bullet as well. And I had got like some splinters at the back of my neck. It was from the blast and stuff. And with my face injuries were the most severe injuries that I sustained. I'd lost all my upper teeth, my maxilla, my jaws, and the base of my nose was completely broken, and it still is. And the right side of my face was completely blown away. So at first my family didn't know that it was me, because they still had doubts, because I had sustained injuries on my face, and my face was completely covered with bandages. So in the initial days, my family was really confused. My dad had recognized me from a T-shirt that he gave me a few days before the attack. So that's how he recognized me.
During that whole time, had you realised like what was actually like going on?
At that time, to be honest, I still had no idea. When I got shot, when I went to the hospital, I had no idea why these people shot me or my friends. I have had nightmares, even when after a few months when I was in my room in the hospital, I would have nightmares, I would have dreams, and I kept on looking at the door when I was in ICU, because that shock when I saw them breaking in the auditorium, I kept on looking at the door in hospital as well, that someone might break through that and just come in again. And I only knew about a few of my friends that I saw at that time that died, but I didn't know about most of them, and I didn't know what had happened to them. That time I was about like 12, 10 years old, and those friends had spent like about 8 years of their life with me. So that was my whole life for me. It was a short life, so it was my whole life for me, and I'd known them for my whole life. So when I saw them that their names were on the list that people had died, the first thing that was shocking for me was when I saw that 132 kids in our school were killed, and my heart just sank. I was just praying that please none of my best friends be on it. Like I was just praying, and when I saw their names, and all of their names were on the list, that's when I just went in a shock. I couldn't believe it at that time. I was like, this is not true. I haven't seen them. I haven't even seen their bodies yet. Like, they can't. Like, sometimes when you just don't see your loved ones like that, you don't really accept it. Your brain, your heart doesn't accept that they're no more with you. I would be crying. I'd be telling myself that, you know, what if I would have done this? What if I would have laid down and I could have survived? I wouldn't have got shot, and then I could have saved my friends. And the fact that, you know, I was the one that called most of them to the auditorium because I was the head boy, as told by the teacher. So that guilt was kind of like really, really like making it difficult for me. And it was kind of killing me from inside. My mom goes to me and she's like, what will happen if you cry now, or if you just, you know, go in that darkness that, you know, you just has nothing to do with life now? What will happen? Will your friends come back with that? Will it change anything? And I had no answer to that. And then she tells me that instead of crying and sitting here, what you should be doing, you should recover. You should try to recover, work on your recovery, and do something for them. Do something that, you know, no other people or no other Waleed's friends should be martyred or like killed like that. You should be getting up and doing something for them.
Going through like a near-death experience, especially so young, how do you think that's changed your perspective on life?
I think before this incident, I had no purpose. And I mean, I was young as well, but, you know, I didn't realize the value of life. I didn't realize the value of education. That's what it gave me, like a sense of realization how important this thing that I'm doing and I'm taking for granted is. I'll just say simply that, you know, before this incident, like, I just wanted to live for myself, and now I want to live for others.
What would you, I suppose, want people to know about your classmates that lost their lives?
I think I just want them to know that, you know, they were there to get education. They weren't there to fight anyone, and they were innocent. They were all innocent, and they were killed brutally for just getting education. They were killed brutally for just wanting a future, a bright future for themselves. They were brave. They all had bright futures. They were all, someone was future army officers. Some of them were future politicians, businessmen. They all had aspirations. They all had dreams that were just shattered in a few minutes. That was just taken away by a few gunshots. In life, you know, life is not what you think will happen. Life is what happens to you. So it's a hard pill to swallow, but sometimes you just have to accept and live with that reality. Don't ever take the opportunities or the education or, you know, whatever life opportunities you have for granted.
Bodies of people being fed to these dogs, I was so terrified.